Hey guys, what's happening? So we're continuing on Philip K. Johnson's Hulk series. In this one, Bruce and the Hulk get into one of the craziest fights I've ever seen between the two of them. And aside from that, we're also introduced to a new monster that kind of blurs the lines between good and evil. So if you're enjoying these videos, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so coming back, we pick up in New Orleans, which is now where Bruce and Charlie have made their way to. But before we catch up to them, we follow a young couple who are making their way back to the car. And it's just the two of them, because what could go wrong? And along the way, they pass by this antique shop that has a number of familiar looking items in the window, by the way. But as they pass by, there's this old lady who's sweeping just outside the shop. So this girl Paula yells at her, telling the older lady to go home, it's late. Because at this point it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. So the guy tells his girl to leave the lady alone, and he even goes as far as to apologize to the older lady because this girl just out here yelling at strangers. But after walking for some time, because they really don't remember where they parked at, but after walking for some time they run into that same old lady again, and she goes on to tell him how the guy is such a lovely young man and how he deserves better than such a tallow-faced trollop, which right there just has the girl, Paula, like, you know what? Because I don't understand what you just said, I'ma take it as a sign of disrespect. And mind you, this whole time her mans is like, we need to leave this old lady alone. But Paula just keeps popping off at the mouth while this old lady's shadow keeps getting bigger. And before they can even acknowledge what is happening here, Paula is sliced into pieces. As the old lady goes on to say, "Hush, sweet boy, you needn't be afraid, not ever again. His hounds will not find you now." To where from there he's dragged off by this lanky figure while smearing a trail of Paula's blood through the alley. And through the course of this, we're shown that the authorities are aware of there being multiple murders similar to this one, and some with even stranger details. But it's almost as if they're too spooked to really look into it, so instead they're just like, yeah, this is an ongoing investigation. And after that, we just see this guy go on in another direction. And next, when we head over to the cemetery nearby, it's here where we pick up with Bruce and Charlie. And just as a reminder, aside from the two of these guys staying on the move and Bruce looking after Charlie, Charlie is still wanted for the murder of her abusive father. So the two of these guys gotta lay low. But while they're here, Bruce is coughing between every other sentence. He's barely able to hold himself together, but he manages to hide it from Charlie for a good while. And the reason why Bruce is just coughing and going on is because the Hulk is trying to come out right now, while Bruce is trying to hold the Hulk in. And rather quickly, things start to go downhill for Bruce from here, because first, to his surprise, he sees Betty off in the distance, which immediately catches him off guard. Then next, his ribs start cracking, and it's right here where Charlie notices that Bruce is getting ready to Hulk out. And really quick, at this point, this is just taking us back to what's recently been going on with the Hulk wanting to take over. So right now with Bruce trying not to change, this isn't because of any external threats or him needing to Hulk out for any reason. This is just the Hulk taking the wheel with no guarantee of Bruce coming back. So quickly Bruce tries to give Charlie some money so she can get out of here and meet him a couple miles away later. But of course she doesn't want to take it because she thinks this is Bruce trying to get rid of her again. But the truth is, if he hulks out, that's going to bring a lot of attention. And when I say attention, I mean the police. So really by doing this, Bruce is trying to look out for her. But with time running out, he drops the cash, steps away, and he begins to Hulk out. And as he does, Betty then comes closer. And right away she just starts to taunt Bruce by asking, "Will this be your final transformation? I wonder, the final moonrise that pulls the green tide over your head forever." Because also, just like we saw in issue 1 and issue 5, Betty is working with the eldest. She came to Bruce before with a message telling him how the eldest wants him to hand over the Hulk in exchange for a fresh start. And we know from before that Bruce already turned down this offer. And even right now, he's turning it down again. Because he tells Betty, the Hulk's the most dangerous weapon on Earth. I'm not putting that in the wrong hands, no matter how bad I want to. And mind you, this whole time, Bruce is struggling, trying to keep the Hulk from coming out. Meanwhile, in the case of Charlie, she's enjoying the sights and the sounds of the nearby town, while still trying to duck the authorities. But eventually this just leads to her bumping into one. So to quickly get off the street, she ducks into an old antique shop. where she meets a nice old lady who greets Charlie as a pretty young girl, and they strike up a conversation. Meanwhile, over with Bruce, who is still wrestling with the Hulk. As the two of them are going back and forth, Betty lays out the offer yet again by saying, "Give Hulk to the eldest Bruce. We can be human again, start over." While these people in the background are looking confused and terrified at the same time. But with Betty mentioning this offer again, Bruce tells her that he can't, cause there's this, and then the Hulk jumps in like stupid kid, finishing Bruce's sentence. But this is also part of the reason why Bruce isn't even entertaining the idea. Cause I mean, the main reason's what he said earlier, as far as not just handing over the Hulk to anybody, with the Hulk being a dangerous weapon and all, but also there's the reasoning of both Bruce and the Hulk feeling the need to look after Charlie, which I imagine has a lot to do with Bruce growing up with an abusive father, much like Charlie. But also this need that both Bruce and the Hulk have to look after Charlie. This was spotted by the Ghost Rider, when like we saw, he told the Hulk that Charlie's his weak spot, and sooner or later the eldest is gonna figure it out, and when she does, the eldest is gonna use Charlie to get to him. So right now with Bruce telling Betty about how he's gotta look after this kid, Betty just tells him that Charlene Tidwell is not a concern anymore, which right there just has Bruce and the Hulk like, what did you do? And for a moment, the two of them lose it, and they tell her that she's not Betty, which I mean, if that were the case, I would be very surprised. Cause again, we've seen Betty around since issue 1, and even back then when we saw her cooperating with the eldest, she still was the only person who would tell the eldest that she'd never get Bruce to hand over the Hulk. And really it just seems more like one of those cases where, on some level, she believes in what she's doing, cause she even transforms to show herself to the Hulk while telling him, "It's still me, I'm just part of something bigger." And for a moment here where the Hulk points out that Betty wouldn't hurt a kid, she just turns it right back around, cause she tells him, "You knew the danger you were putting her in. You know better than anyone. Monsters find each other." Which now this takes us back over to Charlie, only to find that she's been followed to the antique store by the officer she ran into earlier. So the old lady tells her, "If I may say so, I know a good soul when I see one. And I remember what it's like to be young, pretty, and in danger because of it. You seem like a good soul, kind and sad and fierce, but also afraid, I think. Are you in some kind of trouble?" And as the officer walks in, the older lady's like, "I thought so. Always a man, huh?" Then she tells Charlie to rummage through the back and stay quiet if she can. So Charlie does just that. And for a brief moment we can see the officer questioning the old lady, telling her things like he knows that the girl walked in here, but this time he starts to raise his voice with it, like he knows what he saw. So in a moment he's about to start looking around without asking permission. But as we follow Charlie, who's making her way through the back, she comes across a cellar, and as she approaches it, she remembers some of the things that Bruce told her back in the graveyard about why people get buried above ground, since the water table in New Orleans is basically ground level, because she also remembers him telling her that it's for this reason you'll be hard pressed to find a cellar anywhere in town. So right away with her finding one here, it creates this creepy feeling of like, well, this can't be good. And of course, because Charlie's curious, she goes to check it out. And as she does, you can also hear the older lady upstairs telling the officer, "You won't lay a finger on that girl," while at the same time his blood is spilling on the ground up there. But down here in the cellar, we start to see some of the weird stuff that this monster's been doing in this town, as Charlie finds a doll that looks like the boyfriend from earlier. So she picks it up, and inside she can hear him crying for help. And at this time, the old lady's making her way down to the cellar, getting closer and closer to where Charlie's at. And as she approaches, we still hear her talking to the officer, saying things like, "I know your kind too well. The heart to misuse a young girl hid behind the trust of a badge. Well, I'll keep her safe, safe from your judgment and from theirs, safe from all who would do her harm, alongside all my little angels." As we see the old lady making her way down into the cellar with the head of that officer in her hand. Cause like Betty said earlier, monsters find monsters. And this dirty cop was no exception. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.